Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good morning, everyone. Today, we're diving into something deeply personal and profoundly transformative, what it means to become a woman of prayer. Now, before you tune out thinking this is about perfection or piety, let me assure you, it's not. This is about connection. It's about courage. It's about showing up for your life in a way that's raw, real, and deeply rooted. I want to share you that have shaped my understanding of prayer, not as a practice of performance, but as a lifeline to something bigger than ourselves. Prayer is one of the most profound acts of vulnerability we can engage in. It's not about having it all together or presenting ourselves as polished and perfect. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Prayer invites us to strip away the masks we wear and the walls we build. It's a space where we can bring the full weight of who we are, our doubts, fears, hopes, and dreams, and lay them bare. Think about it. How often do we go through life trying to hold it all together? Pretending we're fine when we're not, or carrying burdens we're too afraid to share. Prayer is the antidote to that. It's a sacred permission slip to let go of the pretense and say, this is me. This is where I'm struggling. This is where I feel lost. When we step into prayer, we're stepping into a relationship, not a performance. It's not about saying the right words or presenting ourselves in a certain way. It's about honesty. It's about opening our hearts and trusting that what we bring is enough. There's no need to clean up the mess before we show up. Prayer welcomes the mess. And here's the beauty of it. In that vulnerability, we find freedom. We're not judged for our brokenness. We're embraced in it. We're reminded that we don't have to carry the weight of the world on our own. Prayer is a way of saying, I can't do this alone, and that's okay. It's a way of surrendering our pride and leaning into grace. Vulnerability in prayer isn't weakness, it's courage. It's the courage to be seen even when we feel unworthy. It's the courage to ask for help even when we've been taught to handle things on our own. It's the courage to hope even when hope feels fragile. In prayer, we discover that we're not alone in our struggles. We're not alone in our doubts or fears. We're met with a presence that says, I see you. I hear you. I'm with you. And that connection, real, raw, and unfiltered, is what makes prayer so powerful. It's not about changing who we are. It's about being fully seen and loved. So when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable in prayer, we're not just opening up to God. We're opening up to a deeper understanding of ourselves. We're letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing the beauty of being human. And in that space, healing begins, transformation begins, connection begins. Prayer is a profound reminder that we are not meant to navigate life alone. In our most challenging moments, it can feel like the weight of the world rests entirely on our shoulders, and we find ourselves running on empty, trying to be strong when we feel anything but. Prayer steps in as a lifeline, gently pulling us back to the truth that we don't have to carry everything by ourselves. It connects us to something greater than our circumstances, to a source of strength beyond our own, and to a peace that steadies us when everything feels unsteady. When we pray, we tap into a connection that recharges us, even when the challenges don't immediately disappear. It's not just about asking for solutions or quick fixes. It's about anchoring ourselves in the presence of something bigger than our struggles. In prayer, we're reminded that our worth isn't tied to how much we can endure on our own. Instead, we're invited to lean in, to share the load, and to trust that we are held and supported. This connection builds resilience in a way that's deeply personal and profoundly powerful. It's not the kind of resilience that demands we push through without feeling or acknowledging our pain. It's the kind that allows us to process our emotions, to cry, to question, and even to feel anger, all while knowing we are still supported. Prayer doesn't demand perfection. It invites authenticity. Through prayer, we also reconnect with our own inner strength. Sometimes life's challenges can leave us feeling powerless, but prayer helps us remember that resilience isn't about never falling. It's about finding the courage to rise again. When we pray, we align ourselves with hope, even when it feels distant. That hope becomes a quiet but steady force, reminding us that no storm lasts forever and that we have the capacity to weather it. Prayer also fosters resilience through its ability to shift our perspective. In moments of despair, it's easy to feel consumed by what's wrong. Prayer gently nudges us to see beyond the immediate pain. It helps us focus on gratitude, on the blessings we still have, and on the possibilities that lie ahead. This doesn't mean ignoring our struggles. It means finding balance, acknowledging the hardship while holding on to hope. And perhaps one of the most beautiful aspects of prayer is the way it connects us to others. Even when we pray alone, we are participating in something universal. Across the world, people are praying, seeking strength, offering gratitude, and yearning for peace. In prayer, we are reminded that we are part of a larger story, a community of souls navigating life together. This shared connection can be a powerful source of comfort, reminding us that we're not isolated in our experiences. Ultimately, prayer becomes a rhythm, a steady heartbeat in the chaos of life. It grounds us, strengthens us, and reminds us that resilience isn't about going it alone. It's about connection to God, to ourselves, and to the understanding that even in our most difficult moments, we are never truly alone. Through prayer, we discover that resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about finding the strength to face it, knowing we are supported every step of the way. Prayer is an act of courage that often goes unnoticed. It's not the kind of courage that makes headlines or garners applause, but it is profound nonetheless. Every time we choose to pray, we are making a deliberate decision to pause, to be still, and to engage with something greater than ourselves. In a world that constantly demands our attention and rewards busyness, choosing to step away and pray is a bold and countercultural act. It takes courage to quiet the noise of the world and turn inward. Life is filled with distractions, and it's easy to get swept up in the endless cycle of tasks, responsibilities, and worries. Prayer asks us to break that cycle, to create space for reflection and connection. It's not always easy to do. In fact, it can feel uncomfortable at times, especially when silence brings us face to face with our own fears, doubts, or uncertainties. Yet, it is precisely in that discomfort that courage begins to grow. Prayer is also an act of vulnerability, and vulnerability requires bravery. When we pray, we are opening ourselves up not just to God, but to the truth of our own hearts. We're admitting that we don't have all the answers, that we're not in control of everything, and that we need help. And for many of us, that's a difficult thing to acknowledge. Society often teaches us to be self-reliant, to present a strong exterior, and to avoid showing weakness. Prayer, however, invites us to set all of that aside. It asks us to come as we are, with our struggles, our questions, and our hopes, and to trust that we will be met with grace. There's also a certain courage in the consistency of prayer. It's easy to pray when things are going well, when the path ahead is clear, or when we feel inspired. But what about the days when it feels like nothing is happening? When the answers we're seeking don't come right away, or when the weight of life makes us wonder if prayer even makes a difference? Continuing to pray in those moments requires faith and perseverance. It's an act of courage to show up anyway, to keep the conversation going, and to trust that even when we can't see it, something is happening beneath the surface. Prayer also takes courage because it challenges us to listen. So often we think of prayer as a one-way dialogue where we bring our requests, our thanks, and our thoughts. But true prayer involves listening as much as speaking. It's about being open to guidance, to hearing truths we might not want to face, and to being led in directions we didn't expect. Listening requires humility and a willingness to surrender control. And that is no small thing. Finally, prayer is courageous because it is an act of hope. To pray is to believe, even in the smallest way, that change is possible, that healing can happen, that strength can be renewed, and that light can break through the darkness. It's easy to become cynical or to let the weight of the world extinguish our hope. Prayer resists that. It is a declaration that we refuse to give up, that we believe in something greater, and that we are willing to trust in the possibility of transformation. Each day when we choose to pray, we are choosing courage. We are choosing to step away from the chaos, to embrace vulnerability, to persist in faith, to listen with an open heart, and to hope against the odds. And in doing so, we become stronger, braver, and more deeply connected to the essence of who we are and the divine presence that sustains us. Prayer is one of the most personal and intimate practices we can engage in, yet so often we feel pressure to make it something performative. We worry about finding the right words, using the right tone, or following the right formula, as if prayer is a task to be perfected. But prayer is not a performance. It's not about impressing anyone, not even God. It's about showing up, being real, and engaging in a conversation that transcends all the expectations we place on ourselves. The beauty of prayer lies in its simplicity. There's no checklist, no script, no standard we have to meet. Prayer doesn't require us to be eloquent or polished. It doesn't demand that we say everything just right. It simply asks that we come as we are, whether that's joyful, broken, confused, or exhausted. Prayer is about presence, not perfection. In a world where so much of what we do is measured, judged, or compared, it's easy to bring that mindset into our spiritual lives. We might feel like our prayers have to be long enough, emotional enough, or even profound enough to count. But prayer is not about meeting a quota or achieving a certain level of intensity. It's not a performance to be evaluated. It's a practice, a daily rhythm that invites us to connect with God, with ourselves, and with the deeper truths of life. When we let go of the idea that prayer is something we have to get right, we open ourselves to its true power. Prayer is raw and unfiltered. It's the whispered words in the middle of the night when sleep won't come. It's the deep sigh of relief when something finally goes right. It's the tear-filled plea when life feels overwhelming. And it's the quiet gratitude we feel in moments of peace. These are the prayers that matter, not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Prayer as a practice also means it's something we grow into. Like any other meaningful habit, it takes time and intention. Some days prayer might flow effortlessly, and other days it might feel like a struggle. Both are okay. Prayer isn't about how it feels in the moment. It's about the act of showing up again and again, regardless of how polished or put together we feel. And because it's a practice, prayer evolves with us. What prayer looks like in one season of life might be completely different in another. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. For some, prayer might involve quiet meditation or journaling. For others, it might look like singing, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence. Prayer adapts to where we are, meeting us in the unique rhythms of our lives. The freedom of prayer being a practice rather than a performance is it allows us to bring our whole selves to the table. We don't have to hide the messy parts of our lives or pretend we have it all together. We can come with our doubts, our questions, and even our frustrations. Prayer is a space where we can be honest, where we can wrestle with the hard stuff, and where we can find peace in the midst of uncertainty. This understanding of prayer also frees us from comparison. It's easy to look at someone else and think, they're so much better at prayer than I am. But prayer isn't a competition. It's not about who prays the longest, the loudest, or the most beautifully. It's about authenticity. Your prayer is uniquely yours, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. At its core, prayer is an invitation. It's an open door to step into a space where you are fully seen, fully known, and fully loved. It's not about performing or proving anything. It's about being present, being honest, and being willing to connect. Prayer doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for you. And that, just as it is always enough. Prayer has a way of reaching the deepest parts of who we are, often in ways we don't even realize at first. It's not just about asking for external changes in our lives, though that's often where we start, but about the quiet, transformative work that happens within us when we engage in this sacred practice. Prayer doesn't simply change our circumstances, it changes our hearts, our perspectives, and the way we move through the world. When we pray, we open ourselves to a process of transformation that is both subtle and profound. At first, it might feel like nothing is happening. We might not notice any immediate shifts or dramatic answers, but over time, prayer begins to soften the rough edges of our hearts. It invites us to let go of bitterness, anger, and fear, replacing them with compassion, forgiveness, and peace. This transformation doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process, like water smoothing a stone. One of the most powerful ways prayer transforms us is by shifting our focus. So much of life is spent looking outward, reacting to the chaos around us, and trying to control outcomes. Prayer invites us to turn inward, to pause, and to reflect. In that stillness, we begin to see things differently. What once felt overwhelming might start to feel more manageable. What once seemed hopeless might begin to glimmer with possibility. Prayer doesn't necessarily change the facts of our situation, but it changes how we see them. And that shift can make all the difference. Prayer also has a way of realigning our priorities. When we pray, we step back from the demands of the moment and reconnect with what truly matters. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, chasing after things that ultimately leave us feeling empty. Prayer helps us recalibrate, reminding us of the deeper values and purposes that give our lives meaning. It helps us focus less on what we have and more on who we are becoming. Another remarkable aspect of prayer is how it builds resilience and inner strength. Life is unpredictable and challenges are inevitable, but when we make prayer a regular part of our lives, we cultivate a sense of steadiness that helps us navigate those challenges with grace. Prayer doesn't make the hard things disappear, but it gives us the courage to face them. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we are supported, and that we have access to a source of strength that is greater than ourselves. Prayer also transforms our relationships, not just with God, but with others. As we spend time in prayer, we often find our hearts expanding with empathy and understanding. It becomes easier to forgive, to let go of grudges, and to approach others with kindness. Prayer reminds us that we are all connected, that we are all works in progress, and that love is at the heart of everything. Perhaps most importantly, prayer transforms our sense of identity. It reminds us of who we are, beloved, worthy, and enough. In a world that constantly tells us we need to do more, achieve more, and be more, Prayer grounds us in the truth that we are already enough just as we are. It's a space where we can shed the pressures and expectations of the world and rest in the knowledge that we are deeply loved. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of showing up day after day and allowing prayer to work in us. Sometimes the changes are so gradual that we don't even notice them until we look back and realize how far we've come. But make no mistake, prayer is always working, always moving, always shaping us into the people we are meant to be. In the end, the transformation that prayer brings is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully ourselves. It's about uncovering the beauty, strength, and grace that were already within us, waiting to be brought to the surface. Prayer doesn't just touch the surface of our lives, it goes deep, working from the inside out and leaving us forever changed. So, my challenge to you today is simple. Become a woman of prayer. Not a woman who has all the answers, but a woman who dares to ask. A woman who leans into the mystery, the beauty, and the mess of life with faith. Because when we pray, we don't just connect with God, we connect with our truest selves. And that, my friends, is where transformation begins. Thank you.